Your heart stops beating right now. In this moment, you have approximately 7 minutes before your brain cells begin to die permanently. But here's what most people don't know. Those 7 minutes might be the most active your brain has ever been. This isn't speculation. This isn't theory. These are documented medical findings that have left neuroscientists completely baffled. In 2013, researchers at the University of Michigan did something unprecedented. They monitored the brains of 9 dying rats with EEG sensors. What they expected to see was a gradual shutdown, the brain slowly powering down like a computer. What they actually recorded was the complete opposite. Dr. Jimo Borzingen, the lead neuroscientist, described it like this. We expected the brain to be inactive during cardiac arrest. Instead, we found the most organized electrical activity we'd ever seen. 30 seconds after the heart stopped, the rats' brains exploded with activity. Gamma waves, the same brain waves associated with conscious perception and heightened awareness in humans, surged to levels higher than when the rats were awake. The brain wasn't shutting down, it was lighting up. Now, rats aren't humans, but in 2023, a landmark study was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. For the first time ever, scientists had EEG data from 4 human patients who died in the hospital while being monitored for seizures. 2 of these patients showed something extraordinary in their final moments. So let's walk through what actually happens, second by second, based on documented medical research. 0 to 20 seconds. Your heart stops. Blood pressure drops to 0, but your brain still has oxygen reserves in the blood already inside your skull. You might still be conscious. In fact, a 2020 study from New York University showed that some cardiac arrest patients could hear and understand what was happening around them even after their heart stopped. One patient later recalled with perfect accuracy the conversations doctors were having while performing CPR on his lifeless body. 20 to 60 seconds.
We're almost there.
This is where it gets strange. Your brainwaves don't fade, they change. In those 2 human patients from the 2023 study, researchers detected a surge of gamma wave activity in a specific region, the temporal parietal junction. This area is crucial. It's where your brain processes consciousness, memory, and dream states. Dr. Ajmal Zamar, one of the neurosurgeons involved, said this: the brain may be replaying important life events during the last moments, similar to the near-death experiences reported by those who survived cardiac arrest. Let's talk about those survivors for a moment. A 2014 study led by Dr. Sam Parnia at Stony Brook University interviewed 2,060 cardiac arrest survivors from 15 hospitals. 40% reported some form of awareness during the time they were clinically dead. They described seeing a bright light, feeling profound peace, watching events from above their body, life review, watching memories flash before their eyes. One patient described medical procedures in accurate detail despite having no measurable brain activity. Here's the neuroscience. When oxygen drops, your brain releases a flood of neurochemicals, endorphins, serotonin, and possibly DMT, a dimethyltryptamine, a powerful hallucinogenic compound your pineal gland naturally produces. Dr. Rick Strassman, who conducted the only legal DMT studies on humans in the 1990s, theorized the brain releases it during extreme stress. Deaf would qualify. This chemical cocktail could explain the visions, the euphoria, the sense of leaving your body. Minute 2 to 4, the fade. 2 to 4 minutes. Your brain's oxygen is nearly depleted. Neurons begin misfiring. The organized gamma wave activity starts to fragment. But even now, deep brain structures, the ones controlling your most primitive survival instincts, are still fighting. Your brainstem is sending desperate signals, trying to restart your heart, gasping for oxygen that isn't coming. 4 to 6 minutes. This is the critical window. brain cells, especially in the cerebral cortex, begin to die. Memories start erasing, not in order. Random fragments vanish forever. The person you were, the things you learned, the faces you loved, overwriting in real time. Doctors have 6 minutes to revive you before permanent brain damage occurs. After 6 minutes, even if your heart restarts, parts of you are gone. The final minute, 6 to 7 minutes. Cellular death accelerates. Your neurons are consuming themselves. The electrical storm that began 30 seconds after your heart stopped is now completely silent. In the University of Michigan study, the rat's brain activity flatlined at almost exactly the 7-minute mark. But here's the haunting part. In one of the human cases from 2023, the gamma wave surge lasted for a full 2 minutes before fading. 2 minutes of hyperactive, organized brain activity while clinically dead. What was that person experiencing during those 120 seconds? We don't know. We may never know. But Dr. George Mashore, an anesthesiologist who studies consciousness, said this: "These findings challenge the assumption that the brain is hypoactive during the dying process. The dying brain is much more alive than we thought." There's a woman named Pam Reynolds. In 1991, she underwent a rare surgery where doctors deliberately stopped her heart, drained the blood from her brain, and cooled her body to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. She was clinically dead by every measurable standard. She later described watching the surgery from above. She recalled specific surgical tools, conversations, details she couldn't possibly have known. Dr. Robert Spetzler, the neurosurgeon who operated on her, confirmed every detail. He had no explanation. So, what's really happening in those 7 minutes? The science tells us your brain is releasing neurochemicals, replaying memories, and experiencing a final surge of electrical activity as it consumes its last reserves. But the experiences people report, the clarity, the peace, the feeling of something beyond, that's harder to explain. Maybe it's just chemistry, your dying brain comforting itself with hallucinations. Or maybe in those final moments, when the noise of everyday survival finally stops, your brain is free to perceive something it normally can't. Here's what we know for certain. Your brain doesn't give up when your heart stops. It fights. It surges. It creates one last experience, perhaps the most vivid of your entire life, in the 7 minutes before the lights go out forever. And that in itself is extraordinary.